Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course other countries in Europe. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports. You know we love you in Canada, but Big C, there's no one I love more than all the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all you good old boys?
Down here in the south, everybody's recovering from that all-star game last night. You know, an outstanding, exciting ending to the game.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful day. Everybody's getting ready for spring football down here in the south. You know, the SEC is holding their press conferences, and so everybody's finally getting excited. College football less than 2 months away.
Isn't that something else, Big C? Today is it is July the 12th, 2017, and even though we're still in the second half getting ready to start for baseball, people are still excited about football. I know we did our college football thing last week, but a lot of people are starting to catch up to that, and they're running their college football stories now. I do want to touch a little bit on what happened in Major League Baseball. I believe the AL is now 17 out of the last 24 games against the NL, and they had a 2-1 win last night with a 10th inning home run, and that was actually a good game. I do want to say Robinson Cano, a home run in the 10th inning for the Seattle Mariners. Actually played with the New York Yankees at a time, too. Just your thoughts on the empty seats, though. I thought that was a bad look for baseball. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we discussed it prior to the game. You know, it's a tough place to sell a game out in Miami with so many amenities in that city and exciting nightlife. And, you know, realistically, when the fan goes in, the most exciting part about an all-star game, Charlton, is going to be the home run derby.
Yeah.
That's what everybody looks forward to, is that highlight show.
Yeah.
Because everybody is up there as a big basher and putting the ball out of the park. You know when you have the game start out, you got the best pitchers in baseball currently.
Yeah.
And they're going to be bringing their best stuff. You know, everybody talks about, well, you got the best hitters and you got the best batters, all right?
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to put it in that hitter's wheelhouse for him to be able to hit it. So that pitcher is knowing how to, you know, pick apart the corners of the plate.
Yeah.
Their breaking balls are just phenomenal when they got all this stress, Charlton. And the umpire is going to give advantage to the pitchers.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you're not always as a big bat. It's not like the home run derby where you're going to get all the balls that you want to see to have a chance to crush.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. Also, last night, a great thing that I liked about the All-Star Game, after I say this segment, sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You know, going into the game last night, we talked about the Marlins, and they had how many great players in the history of sports in Miami, but it's not really a great city for sports, even though the state of Florida has so many tremendous athletes, Big C, on the high school level and, of course, the college level. But when it comes to the fans buying seats, there's a bit of apathy, and I love the game of baseball, and I would love to see it move more in a market that's more traditional. Miami's about flash. It's about entertainment. It's about being pretty. It's not about going and sitting inside of a dome stadium watching an All-Star game. But I do want to just get your thoughts on something new that I think Fox was trying out last night. They actually had some interviews happening while the play was going on. I think Bryce Harper out in right field, he was talking to one of the broadcasters, Buck, last night, and asked him some questions. I thought that was okay, actually, for an All-Star game. Big C, your thoughts?
It may seem like it's okay, but, you know, it becomes a little intrusive. When athletes are playing, they're supposed to be at the peak of attention, you know, throughout a contest. And I understand that the All-Star game may not have the intensity that a regular season or playoff game may, you know, offer to the fans or the players. But, you know, when you're competing athletically, you can't be concentrating 100% on your job when you're sitting there giving an interview. That's the job of the coaches and the managers, to sit there and talk to the broadcasters. I think, you know, what happened last night is that Fox made it just a little bit too much commercialized.
Yeah.
And that's part of what draws away the fans, Charlton. It drives them away. Because if I'm going and you're putting on a circus, and I'm expecting to see a sporting event, I'm not interested, okay?
Yeah.
I understand some of the greatest athletes in the world are animals, and they still are. But,
yeah.
You know, when I'm going to see a game and I'm watching guys play baseball, I want to see an outfielder concentrating. I don't want to see a ball fly over his head. I don't want to see a bound to get under his glove when he's trying to come in and scoop
Yeah.
and throw out somebody at third or home. But when he's talking to a broadcaster, his mind is not in the game. It's about making it about him at that point, and that broadcaster is taking away the luster of the game.
Yeah.
Because as a fan, I'm watching the pitcher, I'm watching the catcher mainly. That's the number 1 and 2 action in the game where he's calling signals, pitchers waving him off or accepting him. But you're distracting the viewer with an outfielder in the outfield talking to a broadcast about something that's really inept, Charlton.
Yeah, and you're expecting, Joe Buck's calling the game, but obviously getting a Q&A with actually in the field of play, which can be distracting for the athlete. I know the NFL will have a microphone in the helmet of the quarterback, or sometimes they'll mic a player and have them live, but actually going into the field of play, you got to be paying attention. Is a ball coming over your head while you're asking a question and then answering a question with the play-by-play guy? That is an experiment. I guess we got a kind of a split decision on that one, but I do want to say when we look at some of the... Yeah.
Why don't they mic the catcher?
Yeah.
Why don't they mic the pitcher? I mean, if you really want to be inside baseball, those are the two guys that you might. Not an outfielder sitting out there in right field in obscurity. Okay?
Yeah, that may never see the ball.
Okay?
Yeah.
Give me that catcher. So he's talking back and forth to the ump, and he's talking back and forth to the pitcher. You got all the game action right there.
Yeah.
And he has to be on top of things. So this is the reason why you're taking away from the attention to the game. Put it on the most integral part of the game. If you want to listen to somebody and you want to listen to the game being talked about,
Yeah.
Mike the catcher, Charlton. That's where all the interest is. But I got a right fielder who might see one ball.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on out there.
Yeah, and Harper did have a nice dive ball, but I think it is, split 50-50. If you want to have a game, you got to be locked in and focused, not having an interview while you're out there in the field of play. Also, for the 88th All-Star game, we looked at the pitcher, Max Scherzer, and obviously, for Washington, he wanted to get out of there as soon as possible, Big C. I like the way the pitching dominated the game, even though people want to see the long ball. And ironically, like you mentioned earlier, the most exciting part to me about the All-Star game was the home run derby, because at least you got to see some balls go yard. We had one home run hit in the game, but it lacked a lot just because we saw about 57 hit by Judd on his own in the exhibition game the night before. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it is. I mean, when you saw, a ball hit over 500 feet,
Yeah.
and you saw a plethora of balls hit over 400 feet, Charlton, as a fan, and right now Major League Baseball is on pace to hit the most home runs in a single season.
Yeah.
And that's what draws the fans to the ballpark. I mean, we all love great pitching, and that's the crux of baseball.
Yeah.
But we also love to feel and hear the crack of the bat, Charlton. That's the excitement of baseball.
Yeah.
And you had so many cracks of the bats the night before in the home run derby. It was something that was anticlimactic having an all-star game.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
How could you live up to that? You just couldn't.
Yeah.
You look at the skills competition in the NBA All-Star game, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you have the three-point shootout and the slam dunk contest, the game is anticlimactic to those two things, those two events, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because that's what the fans want to see. That's when you get the oohs and ahs, and you know that every time that a player makes contact with that ball, that's the potential to go out of the park, because that's what it's set up for.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you're sitting there and you got a pitcher shaking off a catcher,
Yep.
and he's not throwing you anything to hit, and he has great breaking stuff for 2 innings,
Yeah.
as a fan, you're really not going to get much. And we saw that last night, Charlton. This game is 1-1 going into the 10th.
Yeah.
1-1 going
Yeah.
into the 10th.
It's a real nail biter.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, you can get up, go make a sandwich, and have a beer and come back.
Yeah.
You knew nothing was going to happen because you have the greatest pitchers in baseball throwing hurlers.
Yeah, you got to find a way to make it more exciting. I don't think people want to spend a lot of money, fly across the country, and watch a 1-1 game after 9 innings, Big C. So hopefully baseball will figure that out. Sometimes if it's an exhibition game, let's realize people came to see the home run. They didn't come to see a score that's tied at 1 at the end of 9, Big C. But I want to just touch on something that's a really big, it's a big hype going on in the world of sports. And congratulations to all the Major League, all-star players and all the guys that had a great chance to go out and show their talent off. into the baseball universe. So congratulations for them. But I want to pay homage to one person before we get into this next subject. Sam Jackson is he's a great actor. But I was disappointed when I heard, is Al Green on the radio? I want to turn on Al Green. I heard Al Green on the TV. I said, Al Green. So I put down what I was doing to go watch Al Green. It was Sam Jackson saying, let's stay together, loving you ever. Now, he didn't sound any better than me, Big C. I was disappointed. I thought I tuned into Al Green. What's Sam Jackson doing imitating Al Green, Big C? Your thoughts?
This is what marketing 101 is. So when you think about being the spokesperson for Capital One credit card,
Yeah.
Sam Jackson has that covered in every kind of way.
Yeah.
We've seen What's in Your Wallet.
Yep.
We've seen him at the NCAA Final Four on
Yeah.
the road trip with Spike Lee and Charles Barkley arriving at the airport. And, this man has unlimited talent.
He's amazing.
Whether he's on the big screen, whether he's doing promotional, he even does stuff down here in the South.
Yeah.
Just strictly for that. But, Sam Jackson is just a multitude.
He's amazing.
When it comes to acting.
Yeah.
You think about his starring movie roles that he's been in, and he's covered the gamut.
Yeah.
As far as an actor, he's been all over the place.
Yeah.
And now being a major spokesperson, we talk about Madison Avenue. You think about that, having an African-American male being your Madison Avenue spokesperson.
Yeah.
Every time you come on television. That's huge growth in society and equality in America.
Yep.
What Sam Jackson has created. Sam Jackson is a huge sports fan also. He's at all the major sporting events.
Yeah.
He's a Los Angeles resident and stuff, so all of those events he's going to be at down there. He'll most likely be at the Espy'S tonight with
Yep.
ESPN
Yep.
down there in Los Angeles. But Sam Jackson, whenever he's on, you pay attention.
Yeah.
Because he reminds you of James Earl Jones.
Oh, yeah.
James Earl Jones had that voice that you have to hear. He's the voice of CNN, the worldwide leader in news. But Sam Jackson has seemed to become one of the worldwide leaders in Madison Avenue, Joe.
No, he's amazing, and as an African-American, really proud of him and the work that he's done. Just a wide range of work, and someone who's excellent. I mean, you know his voice when you hear it. The fact that he's been in Star Wars, he's been in Pulp Fiction, was still one of my favorite movies in his role. And one of my favorite lines was, look in that bag and get my wallet. And the guy said, which one is it? He said, it's the one that says bad, bleep, 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 bleep. But that's the one. So, obviously, I think Sam Jackson's the best actor in the universe. And back to the world of the Espy's, obviously in Los Angeles, a lot of top athletes are going to be there tonight at the 25th Espy's in Los Angeles. I don't know how they got Peyton Manning to host it. He's kind of bland to be hosting all these athletes, but I'm sure they'll prop him up and try to make it sound good. But what I really enjoyed was Malcolm Jenkins. They had an interview with Malcolm Jenkins and talked about what he did with Anquan Boldin on Capitol Hill. Joe Montana said some things about Colin Kaepernick and, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is they were talking about the criminal justice system, and they went to Capitol Hill and spoke on that. How can we have a criminal justice system reform? Because most of the people that they go after are black men for the criminal justice system, and to have prominent black athletes going to Capitol Hill and talking about that, no one told them to get the hell out of the country the way they did Colin Kaepernick. And I'm really proud of these guys for standing up for life when they hang up the cleats, Big C, in the uniform. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charles, one of the things about going to Capitol Hill is that you really don't have a forum. The only people that know about it are the media that at Capitol Hill that day.
Yeah.
What Colin Kaepernick did, Charlton, and we heard Joe Montana blasphemy about it today.
Yeah.
In stating that, he's not that good of an NFL quarterback, comparing him to Tim Tebow, and, so many people will lambaste everybody.
He only the last one to go to the Super Bowl for the 49ers. Maybe Joe suffering from some CTE, Big C.
Well, Joe didn't have that luxury of a career when he went to Kansas City.
No.
When he wasn't surrounded by all those great athletes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Montana was a very average quarterback.
I noticed that, yeah.
He had a couple of great years in San Francisco, but when he went to Kansas City, all he has to do is compare his record against Colin Kaepernick's record during that same era. It's about the same amount of years, 4 to 5 years he was in Kansas City, Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Joe Montana didn't succeed anything that Colin Kaepernick did while he was in Kansas City. Everybody will tout him for being a great quarterback for the 49ers, but he was an average NFL quarterback, and matter of fact, his career ended while he was in Kansas City. And matter of fact, prior to that, Bill Walsh said it was time to go.
Yeah.
He said, you no longer have anything that can offer me beyond the fact of a quarterback that I have that's replacing you.
Yeah.
So Joe Montana's been replaced a few times. So, Joe has the right to speak because he has Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
But Joe also has to understand that and he was kicked out of the house twice. All right.
Yeah, and how many Super Bowls does Joe have when he didn't have Jerry Rice? Just a curious question. How many did he have when he did not have Jerry Rice, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I got to get back to you on that, Jonathan. How many Super Bowls?
One.
One. When he didn't have Jerry Rice.
Yeah, just one.
And so, even that, when you think about the number of Hall of Famers that he was surrounded by, okay,
Yeah.
You think about how many wide receivers did Joe Montana throw to in his career, just receivers in whole, that were all pro. Colin Kaepernick never had an all-pro receiver on his roster. Okay?
No.
Never had one. Never had, so when you talk about having players around you, when you think about Joe Montana's offensive linemen, how many of those guys are going to go to the Hall of Fame? Several of them.
Yeah, several.
Look at guys on the defense. How many defensive players they had going to the Hall of Fame?
A lot of them.
Colin Kaepernick was not blessed with the level of talent that Joe Montana had around him. So it's very easy for Joe to speak and have proof about what he's saying, but he's not talking about the guys that he was playing with versus the host of people that Colin Kaepernick was playing. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you guys are always, cheering for Colin Kaepernick. I cheer for any athlete.
I cheer for the stats. I cheer for numbers.
Well, I cheer for, and everybody said, well, he wasn't that good of an NFL quarterback, Johnson, but go back and look at the NFL quarterbacks from last season and the teams, and tell me how many of these quarterbacks were better than Colin Kaepernick statistically.
Yeah, about 7 of them.
That's the thing you want to look at. I mean, you look at the Los Angeles Rams. Who had a better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick? Even Cam Newton didn't play better than Colin Kaepernick last year. He was the MVP the year before that. And I'm going to tell you, the Chicago Bears, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, look like a glass.
Yeah, and I understand that's a very good.
What did Carson Wentz do in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
The New York Broncos. I mean, they came off a Super Bowl victory. They didn't make the playoffs.
No.
The Jacksonville Jaguars got the #1 draft pick in the NFL from a few years ago.
Yeah.
They did nothing, Charlton. The New York Jets, one of the biggest metropolitan places in the world, has nothing at quarterback.
Yeah.
So when you say that Colin Kaepernick is not an NFL talent, Charlton, go find me one of those starting quarterbacks for one of those teams and show me statistically where he was better than Colin Kaepernick.
And they still have jobs, Big C. In the final few minutes, I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry. We work with Ben and Mark when you're looking for athletic and event insurance. They work with Big C Sports. When you look up on them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you, whether you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, or your high school mom and pops. Big C getting ready for the Espy'S down here in Los Angeles. I just want to run around real quick and ask you, Conor McGregor, Floyd Money Mayweather, what a joke to have a guy who's 21-3 in MMA trying to criticize a guy who's 49-0. I don't understand. Obviously they're trying to hype it, but McGregor's already lost 3 times, actually 4, but they gave him the decision over Diaz in the second fight. Big C, your thoughts on a guy that's lost 3 times, already been choked out, saying he can touch a guy who is 49-0, who was taught by a father who trained 17 world champions. Big C, your thoughts on the final few minutes.
Well, Charlton, this is what marketing 101 is all about. Have you ever seen a major boxing event that has not been hyped?
No.
The pre-fight press conference is always one of the greatest animated things that you ever want to see.
Yeah.
You got 2 guys standing there toe-to-toe, really in a heated conversation with each other, saying the things that you normally say at a barbecue.
At barbecue.
When they're sitting there and we're getting all this excitement, what they're doing is pumping up that pay-per-view crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Let's sell this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Let's get this revenue taken care of it. And they do that.
Yeah.
You're going to have McGregor saying everything about Floyd. What got me with Floyd was when he pulls out the $100 million check. Don't you realize you owe money to the IRS when they're watching you?
Yeah.
At any point when the IRS wants to take what you got, they can take it.
They can seize things, yeah.
Big boys. They can seize your purse, your means.
Yeah.
You want to sit there and flop, I got a $100 million check.
Yeah.
Anybody can write that up.
Yeah.
The IRS will say we have ultimate power also.
Well, but Big C, how can they find out that Floyd owes money to the IRS of $22 million and no one can find Donald Trump's tax returns? How can you find a boxer's tax return before you can find the president of the United States tax returns in the last few minutes, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, let me make it. I think it's as clear as black and white.
Okay, I understand.
Let's be that way. Donald Trump flops and say, hey, I don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
Floyd said I'm late on taxes.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Okay.
I'm not going to pay you regardless. Floyd said I'm late.
I understand.
I got money. Donald says I'm one of the richest men in the world, but I'm not going to pay you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's a black and white Charles.
Yeah.
But, you know, here it is as an athlete. You know, the world wants athletes regardless of what they're in. Just like with the NFL, and we were talking about Kaepernick a second ago, Charles.
Yeah.
The NFL wants bad boys.
Yeah.
But they don't want people that's going to bring attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
The NFL will employ a criminal. But if you bring attention to the criminal activity, you're without a job, okay?
Yeah.
That's the difference. The NFL wants people that's been charged with spousal abuse,
Yep.
manslaughter,
Yep.
you know, various other battery charges, drug convictions. The NFL wants that.
Look at Hernandez from New England was still playing after being under investigation for murder. And no one said anything about it until he got actually kicked off the team, Big C. But that was okay. But a guy that says we're going to stand up for Black Lives Matter, where was Joe Montana on that Hernandez situation? I just wonder, Big C.
Well, Josh Gordon, wide receiver for the Browns a couple years ago, dropped in manslaughter.
Yeah.
You know, the Browns kept him because he was their top receiver.
Yeah.
They couldn't get rid of it. We talk about the Mara family with the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Kept employing a kicker who was kicking his wife all around the house.
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you saying that the Mara family got fined by the NFL, Big C?
Oh, no. Pete Rozelle, not Pete Rozelle, but Rodney Goodell said that's okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
One of the biggest drug addicts in America, owner of the Colts. You know, Oxycontin, $27,000 worth of it.
So be careful. I might have to interview him down here tonight, Big C, so don't say his name too loud. But I do want to ask you, Big C, there's so much going on in the world of sports. They got the red carpet here in downtown Los Angeles. What's a gorgeous city, a gorgeous environment, especially people coming from Miami. Now they're coming to L.A., the entertainment capital of the world. Big C, I want to ask you, what are you looking forward to in the world of sports?
Well, Charles, what I'm looking forward to now is the second half of the baseball season. Now we can get into the real games that really matter, Charles. Can the teams hold those leads that they have going into this second half? Who will be hot? You know, there's always a team that will overtake someone. I like what the Astros' position is, Charles.
Yeah.
It's the first time in a long time since they've had Nolan Richardson on the mound that they've had an opportunity to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a great run for Major League. We know what your boys in L.A. with Kershaw, what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
People stay strong in the East, Charles, and that's always a challenge in the East. Can you hold on? We've seen the big match that the Yankees have.
Yeah.
The home run derby.
Yeah.
Will it be enough to get a wild card spot in the playoffs, Charles?
Big C, that's a very good point. I want to tell you, down here in the red carpet in Los Angeles, it's actually pretty nice down here in LA. There's a lot of stars, a lot of entertainers, and hopefully I'll blend in with them, Big C. If I wear my sunglasses, maybe nobody would know who I am. But I do want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you see any woman or even man in trouble, just call 911, because no one should have to deal with that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day live from the Espy's.